Sorry for the AI voice, but due to there being too many people in my house, I can't use my own voice. Obviously, the Nightmare Quirk is based on the Pokemon Bark Cry, because I think you saw it from the thumbnail, and also I will continue this what if on only if we get 100 views and maybe a sub as well. And female Deku's name is Izumi Midoriya, and what if female Deku had a Nightmare Quirk? And we start on Izumi's birth, and from the thumbnail, she is born with white hair and blue eyes and barely even looks like Inko or Hisashi. But Inko would have still loved Izumi, but she would have become a single mother because Hisashi left to get the milk, but it does not really matter because Inko will not leave Izumi to an adoption center. But we now jump cut a 4-year-old Izumi as she was being taken to the Quirk doctor by Inko, and once they arrived, the doctor did some tests on Izumi, and after it was done, he explained that Izumi had a quirk called Nightmare, which allows her to control darkness and dreams. And after Izumi heard that, she was slightly down at having a quirk like this, but still she wanted to be a hero like All Might. But spoiler alert, that did not last long as other kids did not want to be friends with Izumi because her quirk is villainous, and even Bakugo would say that it's villainous, and Izumi at first would have denied it but would start thinking of the same but never spoke on it. But when Bakugo tried to, well, put her down because he is Bakugo, and once he tried, Izumi at first just tried to ignore him, but Bakugo did not stop. So Izumi fought back, obviously to protect herself, and she was somehow stronger than Bakugo and was able to beat him with some difficulty, and when they were 4 years old, but Izumi fighting Bakugo left a bad name on her because, well, girls should not fight, and this would at first annoy Izumi because she was defending herself, not breaking the law. But others don't care, especially Bakugo. So in the following years of Izumi being in school, many things happened, and she would have been the main attraction of bullying because of her quirk and because she looks weak. And at first Izumi would have to take this bullying because it's from people stronger than her by a few years, until in the school cafeteria she was 12, and the 15-year-old guys who were bullying her, plus Bakugo, went a little too far by tugging at her hair, and Izumi, losing patience from all of this bullshit and bullying, would fight back hard, biting, kicking, and punching, and leaving those kids and Bakugo slightly bloodied and bitten, and basically ragdolling them all and embarrassing them a lot because when she touched them, they had seen a nightmare in seconds, which stunned and allowed Izumi to land hits. So all of them were attacked physically and secretly mentally after annoying Izumi in the cafeteria, and obviously the teachers would have came in and separated them and sent the kids to the nurse's office and sent Izumi to the principal's office, even though she was also hurt, as Izumi was in the principal's office with Inko finally arriving, as the principal would have expelled Izumi because of what she did, even thought she was defending herself. And after this, Izumi was now in the car with Inko driving, as the car was quiet except the engine that was moving, and Inko was worried and was about to say something, but Izumi, her voice now being cold, said, "Don't talk to me," and stopped the car. And after Izumi said that, Inko flinched and did so as Izumi got out and said, "I want to be alone." And after Izumi said that, black, dark wings were now on her back as she flew away as Inko tried to say something, but could not as Izumi had left from there.
As we now jump cut to a few hours later, Izumi was on a building's roof, as she felt sadness and hatred because of this shitty system making her be a villain even though she did nothing wrong, and Izumi was annoyed. But should she really turn into a villain? And after that, we now do a flashback to a few years ago, and Izumi had secretly trained her darkness, and she learned to create animals, weapons, and she also learned she can create illusions, which she liked, because it allowed her to make imaginary friends and an imaginary hot boyfriend. And combining both of these, she can create a body with the darkness and the colors with the illusion. But this takes a lot of control, which she trained for. But Izumi also learned she can control people who are asleep or are in fear or have a weak will. But Izumi never used these on anyone because of the danger in them, until now as we end the flashback. As Izumi wiped her teary eyes as she got up and looked towards the ground and to the people who were at the ground, as she slightly felt bad doing this. But this is what society expected from her, so she will do it. And after that thought ended in Izumi's mind, she created a ball of darkness, which she called Dark Void, as she was about to shoot it, but stopped as she sighed and dissipated the Dark Void, as she decided to give one more chance, and one more chance to be able to be a hero, and if she can't get in UA, then she will be a villain. And after Izumi thought of that, she sighed again, and she went back home as she apologized to Inko, but did not apologize to Bakugo or the other older kids. But now she was homeschooled as she started from now on and every day and trained her body and Quirk as she was getting stronger. While Bakugo in all of this felt humiliated at being defeated by Izumi, and he did not want to admit the loss, and he stated that Izumi used her quirk and that he never lost. And Bakugo just thought of that, but Izumi in all of this just ignored Bakugo and called him a moronic ape. Because her personality is shifting more as she stopped her caring about others, and if she is annoyed, she will belittle them in every way possible, talking about their family, their quirk, their appearance, and their mindset. And she is basically an asshole if you annoy her. And she barely talked in these 3 years and only trained, ate, and slept, but still helped Inko with other things, as the relationship was good, but there was tension. But we now jump cut to 3 years later, as Izumi's training paid off, as she was now very strong, but her speed was even greater, and her quirk usage was excellent, as she is right now in a car as Inko is driving it, as there was silence until Inko said, "Are you feeling, Izumi dear? You're going to be a hero if you pass this exam." And after Inko said that, Izumi sighed, but said, "I am sorry for acting like this, so please don't hate me for it." And after Izumi said that, Inko slightly teared, but did not cry as she nodded, and Izumi smiled, and for once in these 3 years, a genuine smile as Inko was slightly happy as the car stopped, and Izumi got out and said goodbye to Inko as she started walking, and saw a girl trip, but did not help and slightly chuckled as she got in the exam and saw Bakugo and she muttered, "Disgusting ape," as she took a seat far from him as the written exam started. And due to Izumi actually studying, she easily got all the questions right. As after a bit, the written exam ended and the robot had started, and everyone rushed and Izumi did so as well.
As she created black wings made of darkness, as she flew around the area and started violently destroying the robots with her darkness, as all the robots were being either swallowed away in darkness or destroyed in many parts. As she did not hold back and even stole robot eliminations from other contestants because she is not here to play games, but break them into pieces and win with everything, as in already half the time she had already gotten 700 points, as most of the contestants were in awe and fear of the power, while Nezu and the other heroes in the hero booth are obviously shocked at the performance of Izumi. As Nezu asked for her file and got it as it read, Name, Izumi Midoriya. Age, 15. Quirk, Nightmare. Allows the control of nightmares and darkness. Offenses. Attacked 4 students, 1 her age, 3 older, for unknown reason. And after Nezu read that, he said, "Interesting. She can be a good addition to UA, but her personality will be very much worked." And after Nezu said that, Aizawa sighed, while Midnight was slightly interested. But Nezu pressed the big red button as the 0-pointer was summoned, as Izumi saw it and knew she won't get in any points, but destroying this robot will give her more attention, which she needs if she wants to be. As she flew towards the 0-pointer, as ropes of darkness came out of the ground and wrapped around the 0-pointer and not allowing it to move, as Izumi shaped her darkness into a drill, as she shooted it to the 0-pointer, and the 0-pointer was hit, as it now had a hole in its chest, as it fell down to the ground destroyed. And Izumi saw more robots and went to them, as she destroyed those as well. And after a bit later, the robot portion ended, and Izumi flew back to the exit as she left, not talking to anyone, and went back home. As we now jump cut to the next day, and to Izumi opening her letter from UA High and being told by a holograph of Nezu she had gotten number 1 with 867 points, and she is now able to attend UA High. And after Izumi heard that, she was happy, genuinely happy for once, as she celebrated this day with Inko. And after that was done, we now jump cut to 3 days later as Izumi got ready in her UA High clothes and went to UA High, and in Class 1A, and in this AU, Ochako and Ida were not in Class 1A because Izumi destroyed almost 90% of the 1,000 points someone can get in the entrance exam, and so when she entered Class 1A, some of the students whispered, "That's the girl who got first place. She destroyed like everything in the exam." They say she took out the 0-pointer by herself. And while that happened, Bakugo glared at Izumi, saying, "Tuh, figures the freak would show up here too." And after Bakugo said that, Izumi scoffed, saying, "You still exist? Thought your ego would have self-destructed by now." And after Izumi said that, Bakugo was pissed, but before he could say anything, Aizawa woke up and stood up saying, "All right, everyone, outside. We're doing a quirk assessment test." And after Aizawa said that, no one questioned him because no one cared to,
as everyone changed and went outside, as most were nervous except Izumi, whose expression ultra-serious, as Aizawa gave her a ball and told her to stand in the circle and throw it as far as she can. And Izumi nodded, as darkness gathers around her arm, forming into a spiraling mass, and with a simple flick, the ball disappears into a black tear, vanishing for a second before reappearing as a meteor in the sky. As Aizawa said, "Infinity meters. Good job." And after Aizawa said that, everyone else was either shocked or in awe except Bakugo, who was annoyed.
As Izumi said, "Guess that's far enough," and after Izumi said that, the tests continue. 50-meter dash, grip strength, long jump, and the ball throw for others as well. And Izumi played games with everyone using her darkness to bullify everyone's quirk without them noticing. And it's like Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Nomi. And in these tests, when Bakugo tries to explode forward, his palms fizzle. And when Kaminari tries to spark, nothing. And when Todoraki reaches for his ice, it melts before forming. As the confusion was as everyone was saying, "What's going on? My quirk's not working." And Izawa in all of this saw what Izumi did as their eyes locked. And Izawa realized Izumi knew. She knew he knew, and that she also knew he won't say anything about this. And Izawa sighed. And after the test ended, as Izawa looked at his board, and Izumi was at first in every test while the others only did 20 to 50% as good as her, as he said, "Well, no one's getting expelled, though some of you should probably reevaluate your definition of strong, and class ends for today." And after Izawa said that, Izumi smirked, as she was about to leave until Bakugo stormed towards her, saying, "You think this is funny? You're cheating somehow." And after Bakugo said that, Izumi just walked away saying nothing. As Izawa mutters, "Problem child, huh? More like a walking nightmare." And after Izawa said that, we now jump cut to a few days later, as Izumi was now in class 1A like everyone else, as in these past few days, she did not try to befriend anyone and was just a loner. And Tokuyami did not try at all because he felt as if he should not do it, but now back to Izawa, and Izawa said, "Okay, today you will have a different test with a new teacher helping you in it." And after Izawa said that, All Might came in class saying, "I am coming through the door like a normal person." And after All Might said that, everyone was shocked at the All Might being their teacher, while Izumi just stayed calm as she only saw All Might not as a figure of hope, but someone to surpass. As All Might explained that the clothes make the pros, and after he said that, he showed everyone their hero suits as everyone quickly got changed, and Izumi's hero outfit is the one I showed on screen except like a half dress, but still almost the same, and I'm sorry if I forgot to add it, so now let's get back to the story and to All Might, who just finished explaining the 2v2 heroes versus villain test, and everyone was hyped as All Might stated that due to there being less students, 2 people won't have to do this test or are unable to do these tests. And after he said that, he told them to pick a paper from the box and get their teammate and opponents or be unable to participate. And after All Might said that, everyone started picking out their paper, as once Izumi picked, she realized her teammate was Shoto Todoraki, and their opponents were Katsuki Bakudo and Kirishima. And after Izumi said that, she got to Todoraki as she said, "We're teammates, and let's just do something and get this over with." And after Izumi said that, Todoraki nodded, as we now jump cut to Izumi and Todoraki, who are outside the building because they are the hero team, while Bakugo and Kirishima are the hero team. And one All Might gave to go, Todoraki used his ice to freeze the entire building as explosions were heard as Bakugo was going through them, as he finally got down as he saw Izumi and Todoraki and was about to attack both, but Izumi used ROPS to restrain Bakugo, while Todoraki used an ice attack to instantly knock Bakugo out, and Izumi and Todoraki nodded to each other and not saying anything as they both went to the bomb room as they saw Kirishima. And Kirishima rushed towards Izumi rock hard until Izumi created a whip of darkness and whipped him away to the wall painfully and quickly touched the bomb as All Might says, "Hero team wins." And after All Might said that, Izumi and Bakugo nodded to each other and then left back to the watching booth, while Bakugo and Kirishima were sent to Recovery Girl's office. As All Might looked at Izumi and Todoraki, "Well, you both seem to have interesting way of doing things together." And after All Might said that, Izumi was weirded out while Todoraki stayed quiet. And after that was done, all of this ended, as this is where we end part 1 of What If Female Deca Had a Darkness Quirk, and subscribe.